तव कथामृतम् तप्तजीवनम् कविभिरीडितम् कल्मषापहम् श्रवणमङ्गलम् श्रीमदाततम् भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जनाः भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जनाः।
ॐ तव कथामृतं तप्तजीवनं कविभिरीडितं कल्मषापहं श्रवणमङ्गलं श्रीमदाततं भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जना. We are studying the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna and we are in the conversations of 29th October 1885, and on the previous day, Tuesday, in our reading, we remember some incident had come. I refer to that and then continue. So, at one point, Dr. Sarkar says, listen to me. Before that, he says, I tell you all this. It hurts me to see people salute you by touching your feet. I say to myself, they are spoiling such a good man. Keshav Sen too was spoiled that way by his devotees. Listen to me. And Thakur directly hits him at that point. Enough, he has said, enough, wrongly. And Thakur has been bearing it for days together. So here he says, Master says, listen to you. You are greedy, lustful, and egotistic. So the very basic tenets of a man are there. You are greedy. That means you want more money. Lustful. That means you are sex drag. And egotistic, pride. So these three you have. And why should I listen to you? You see, by contrast, I cannot touch money even. I cannot think of a woman as woman. And absolutely, I surrender to God, absolutely no trace of ego. Because a man who reaches Nirvikalpa Samadhi absolutely wipes out his ego. And all these things are not possible in the man of Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Kamini Kanchan and Ahankar. So he gives such a direct hit to the doctor. Why should I listen to you? Again and again he's telling, you should not do this, you should do this. So why should I listen to you? And that also Thakur was going on bearing. But when he said, listen to me, then Thakur replied. And Dr. Bhaduri was present there, tried to make it milder, and said it only means you have the characteristics of a jiva, according to Vedanta. That is true, but that is not what Thakur meant. Thakur showed his own contrast. And why should I listen to you? So that has gone already in yesterday's talk. And now we come to English page 910, Bengali. page 984. And doctor has not felt sorry for his stock, even then. And Thakur tells him, read the Gita, the Bhagavata and the Vedanta, and you will understand all this. Is not God in his creation? So, Thakur tells him also that because he has not read the scriptures and thinks by his own mind, so it is a human error. If you had read these books, you would have understood something that God is immanent. But doctor's brain has not come round. Not in any particular object. He is everywhere. And because he is everywhere, he cannot be sought after. But that is also wrong. Because he is everywhere, but have you realized that? So, conviction is different and realization is different. He might be convinced intellectually that he is in all, but he cannot be sought after. That is wrong. He has to be sought. As great Jesus has said, seek and you shall find, knock and it shall be opened unto you. So, that is the truth. So, from this point, we pick up the conversation turn to other things. That means this talk is over. Sri Ramakrishna was always experiencing ecstatic moods, which the doctor said might aggravate his illness. Dr. Sarkar said to him, you must suppress your emotion. That is another thing which the doctor has not been able to understand. He thinks it is emotion, but Thakur's supreme self-control he does not know, and that there are certain intensest feelings which cannot be suppressed at all by reason, and Thakur knows it well. My feeling too are greatly stirred up. He is trying to compare his feeling with that. I can dance much more than you. So this comparison itself is wrong. The younger Naren smiling. What would you do if your emotions increased a little more? So younger Naren is a really intelligent boy, and he picks a hole in his argument. Now you are telling, suppose your emotion increase, what will you do? Dr. Sarkar, my power of control would also increase. Master and aim together. Huh? You may say that now. So it is not actually truth. If it is increases, you will not be able to control. N. Can you tell us what you would do if you went into an ecstatic mood? Because he may be a feeling, but he has not transcended the consciousness. So you are not gone to ecstatic feeling. If that comes, what will you do? Master Moshe is asking. The conversation turned to money. So that has not been replied. Master to Dr. Sarkar, I don't think about it at all, about money. You know that very well, don't you? This is not a pretense, Dr. Sarkar. Even I have no desire for money, not to speak of yourself. My cash box lies open. So that is a different thing. Cash box lying open means you earn and others can spend. Thakur does not want to earn. Basic difference you must understand. Master, Jadu Malik too is absent. So that Thakur said that may be due to absent-mindedness. Jadu Malik too is absent-minded. When he takes his meals, he sometimes becomes so absent-minded that he doesn't know whether the food is good or bad. So Thakur compares that open cash box with that. When someone says to him, don't eat that, it doesn't taste good. Jadu says, hey, is this food bad? Why that is so? So Thakur has compared his open box with Jadu Malik's absent-mindedness. Was the master hinting that there was an ocean of difference between absent-mindedness due to the contemplation of God and absent-mindedness due to preoccupation with worldly thoughts? Pointing to Dr. Sarkar, Sri Ramakrishna said to the devotees with a smile, when a thing is boiled, it becomes soft. At first, he was very hard. Now he is softening from inside. So Thakur has marked the change in spite of all that. Thakur thinks is absolutely balanced and correct. When he said, listen to me, Thakur has scolded him. When he talks of this, Thakur has said absent-mindedness. But there has been a change, and that Thakur points out. Pointing to Dr. Sarkar, Sri Ramakrishna said to the devotees with a smile, when a thing is boiled, it becomes soft. In Bengali, boil is siddha. And if you boil it, it becomes soft. So, siddha also means perfect. So, the pun is used here. In English, we cannot translate puns. At first, he was very hard. Now he is softening from inside. So, external, still it is hard, but inside is softening. Dr. Sarkar, when a thing is boiled, it begins to soften from outside, not only inside. Doctor has that habit of finding a hole in every analogy, finding a hole in every argument. That does not go. I am afraid that won't happen to me in this birth. That means I will not soften from outside. Allah. Thakur said inside. Doctor said outside also. It softens when it is void. But with me it is not going to happen. Dr. Sarkar was about to take his leave. He was talking to Sri Ramakrishna. Doctor, can't you forbid people to salute you by touching your feet? That does not go from him. Jivodhar, the avatar comes for Jivodhar. If he does not allow people to touch his feet, where will they go? How they will be redeemed? That is more important than his physical health. Master, can all comprehend the indivisible Satchidananda? So Thakur says, all cannot be Vedantic. They have to proceed through bhakti, and so they have to touch my feet. Dr. Sarkar, but shouldn't you tell people what is right? No, there is another problem. Vedanta may be right, but does not mean others are wrong. Others are on the way. Others are higher than humanity. And so, right and wrong division is not made in spiritual life. Thakur's speciality, that he is up to this, he will go up to that, and he will reach the reality. So they are on the way. They are not wrong. Master, people have different tastes. Besides, all are not the same fitness for spiritual life. So, man is distinguishing from man on two counts. One is liking, constitution is different. Second, level of consciousness is different. So, all do not have the fitness and all do not have the liking. They don't want to go to Vedanta. They want to remain loving God in this life. So that is not wrong or bad. Dr. Sarkar, how is that? So that has not understood right and wrong he thinks intellectually. But fitness for spiritual life. Master, don't you know what difference in taste is? So first point. Some enjoy fish curry, some fried fish, some pickled fish, and again some the rich dish of fish pulao. Then too, so one point, liking. Then too, there is difference in fitness. I ask people to learn to shoot at a banana tree first, then at the beak of a lamb, and then at a flying bird. So, gross settler and settler, concentration less, more and more. That is how the spiritual life progress. Unique, unique, unique. It was, and that is spiritual guidance, not same for all. It was thus Sri Ramakrishna became absorbed in contemplation of God. For the time being, he forgot all about the painful disease. Several intimate disciples sat near him and looked at him intently. After a long time, he became aware of the outer world and said to him in a whisper, "You see, my mind was completely merged in the indivisible Brahman," because he talked of that. After that, I saw many things. So from there, he comes down and looks at us, not while climbing. That is Thakur's mind. Absolutely right vision. I found that the doctor will have spiritual awakening, but it will take some time. So Thakur has praised him, become soft and all that, but Thakur has said that he will take some time. He will become spiritually inclined. I won't have to tell him much. I saw another person while in that mood. My mind said to me, attract him too. I shall tell you about him later. So, about somebody else. Shyam Basu is still there. Dr. Dukode and a few other devotees arrived. Oh, now they have arrived today. Sri Ramakrishna talked to them. Shyam, ah, what a fine thing you said to us the other day. Master smiling. What was that? Shyam, what remains with a man when he goes beyond jnana and ajnana, knowledge and ignorance? Master smiling. It is vijnana, special knowledge of God. It is Thakur's speciality. To know many things is ignorance. To know that God dwells in all beings is knowledge. And what is vijnana? It is to know God in a special manner, in to converse with Him and feed Him and feel Him to be one's own relative. So nearness, intimacy, that is vijnana. To know that there is fire in wood is knowledge. But to make a fire with that wood, cook food with that fire, and become healthy and strong from that food is vijnana. That means full intimate knowledge. Shyam smiling. And about the thorn, you said, Master smiling. Yes, when a thorn gets into the sole of your foot, you procure a second thorn. After taking out the first thorn with the help of the second, you throw both them away. Likewise, you should procure the thorn of knowledge in order to remove the thorn of ignorance. Philosophically put, I am conscious of world as an object. This is Ajnana. I am conscious of God, who is not an object. So the feeling is that I am same as God. This unitary consciousness is knowledge. But When I is gone, then that is Vijnana. You should discard both knowledge and ignorance. After destroying ignorance, then you attain Vijnana. Coming back from Nirvikalpa, you become intimate with God. Sri Ramakrishna was pleased with Shambhasu. He was quite an elderly person and wanted to devote his time to contemplation. This was his second visit to the math. So in the first visit, he had asked hundreds of things about theosophy and this and that. And Thakur has told him, don't become interested in that, eat mangoes. That seems to have taken heart in him. So Master Mashi says, second visit. Master to Shambhasu, give up worldly talk altogether. Don't talk about anything, whatever, but God. If you see a worldly person coming near you, leave the place before you arrive. So now Thakur wants him to become fully spiritual because he has pleasure. You have spent your whole life in the world. You have seen that it is all hollow. Isn't that so? So confirm first that the world is hollow. God alone is substance and all else is illusory. God alone is real, all else is illusory. God alone is real and all else has only a 2 days existence. God is permanent, others are temporary. Kshanabhangu. What is there in the world? The world is like a pickled hog plum. One craves for it, but what is there in a hog plum? Only skin and pit. And if you eat it, you will have colic. Amda it is called in Bengali. Amda, bati or chamda. Ati or chamda. Sham. Yes, sir. Everything you have said is true. Now he is falling in line. Master, for many years you have devoted yourself to various worldly things. You will not be able to think of God and meditate on Him in the confusion of the world. A little solitude is necessary for you. So Thakur has taken very kindly to Shambhasu because he has accepted many things Thakur has told him, though in the beginning it was different. But all that was due to his desire to know things because he wanted to spend his remaining life in spirituality. And that is why Thakur went on patiently answering. A little solitude is necessary for you, otherwise your mind will not be steady. So when you give things of the world, the mind goes there. Therefore, you must you must fix a place for meditation at least half a mile away from your house. So the connection with the house should cut away, at least half a mile from house. Shambhasu remained silent a few moments. That means he's thinking of that line. He appeared absorbed in thought. So he's thinking, planning about that. Master smiling. Beside all your teeth are gone. There is another pun. Vedanti. Vedanti. Vedanti, follower of Vedanta, Vedanti, a man without his teeth. So there is a pun on that. Why should you bother so much about the Durga Puja? People wait for Durga Puja. Normally, they are vegetarians. But during puja, they sacrifice a goat and eat that. So for that, I will enjoy later. All laugh. A man used to celebrate the worship of Durga with the sacrifice of goats and with other ceremonies. He continued the worship many years and then stopped it. A friend asked him, why don't you perform the Durga Puja anymore? Brother, replied the man, my teeth are all gone. I lost the power to chew goat meat. So that pun continues. Sham. Ah, how sweet these words are. So Shambhasu is catching everything now. Master smiling. This world is a mixture of sand and sugar. Like the ant, one should discard the sand and eat the sugar. He who can eat the sugar is clever indeed. Build a quiet place for thinking of God. Repeat that. A place for your meditation. Have it ready. I shall visit it. Oh, Thakur is showing so much kindness to me. Shyam, sir, is there such a thing as reincarnation? Some questions are meaning in him. Shall we be born again? Master, ask God about it. Pray to him sincerely. He will tell you everything. So doubts will disappear when you experience spiritual life. Speak to Jadumali, example, huh? And himself will tell you how many houses he has and how many government bonds. That was the particular investment in those days. It is not right to try to know these things at the beginning. First of all, realize God, and then He Himself will let you know whatever you desire. So even this reincarnation, don't think. Think of God single-pointedly, one-pointedly. Sham, sir, how much wrong, how many sinful things a man does in this world, can he ever realize God? So that is one worry of the old people. He is telling people in the world, but that is about himself. Master, if a man practices spiritual discipline before his death, and if he gives up his body, praying to God and meditating on Him, when will sin touch him? So if you continue from now up to the end, then there is no chance of sin overtaking you. The last thought will take you to God. It is no doubt the elephant's example, huh? It is no doubt the elephant's nature to smear his body with dust and mud even after his bath. But he cannot do so if the mouth takes him into the stable immediately after the bath. Example, beautiful. In spite of his serious illness, that is what we are feeling. He has come to Shampukur for his illness. And see, he is talking. In spite of his serious illness, the master keenly felt the sorrow and suffering of men. Day and night he thought about their welfare. The devotees wondered at his compassion. The assurance of Sri Ramakrishna that no sin can touch a man if he gives up his body while praying to God was deeply impressed on their minds. Last point was very important. Don't think of what you have done. Think of what you are doing. And this point is also a scriptural point. In the Taittiriya Upanishad, it is said that if a man realizes God, then he has no more worry that I did not do good things in my life, I did bad things. This worry does not touch a man if I is lost. All this hovering around is I consciousness. If that I consciousness is surrendered to God, then these worries do not come to him. So we move to the next day, Friday, October 30, 1885. It was 9 o'clock in the morning. Sri Ramakrishna was talking with M in his room. No one else was present. M was going to Dr. Sarkar to report his condition and bring him to examine the master. Master to M smiling. Purna came this morning. So Thakur's mind is on the young devotees. He has such a nice nature. Manindra has an element of prakriti, of womanliness, and their boy devotee. He has read the life of Chaitanya and understood the attitude of the gopis. He has also realized that God is Purusha and man is Prakriti, and that man should worship God as his handmaid. How remarkable, because in young age he has understood this, and he is a male, but he has understood that man should feel himself as a female. Because according to that philosophy, Purusha is God, Prakriti is nature, everything is in Prakriti. So everything is like wife to God. So it is a rare phenomenon. It is true, sir. Purna was then 15 or 16 years old. Sri Ramakrishna always longed to see him, but his relatives did not allow him to visit the master. One night before his illness, Sri Ramakrishna had been so eager to see Purna that he had suddenly left Dakshineshwar and arrived at M's house in Calcutta one night. M had brought Purna from his home to see Sri Ramakrishna. The master had given the boy many instructions about prayer and had afterwards returned to Dakshineshwar. Oh, this is something strange. Huh? Manindra was about the same age as Purna. The devotees addressed him as Koka, small child, baby. He used to dance in ecstasy when he heard the chanting of God's name. That is his nature. Purna had a male nature. About 10:30, M arrived at Dr. Sarkar's house. He went up to the second floor and sat in a chair on the porch adjacent to the drawing room. In front of Dr. Sarkar was a glass bowl in which some goldfish were kept. Now and then Dr. Sarkar threw some cardamom shells into the bowl. Cardamom shells. Again, he threw pellets of flour to the sparrows. M watched him, doctor, smiling to him. You see, these goldfish are staring at me like devotees staring at God. Hmm. They haven't noticed the food I have thrown into the water. Therefore, I say, what will you gain by mere bhakti? You need knowledge also. So he compares worldly things with God. Thakur's analogy is like different. M smiles. Look there at these sparrows. They flew away when I threw floor pellets to them. They were frightened. They have no bhakti because they are without knowledge. So, first knowledge, then bhakti. They don't know that floor is their food. So, all rough examples. Dr. Sarkar and him entered the drawing room. There were shelves all around filled with books. The doctor rested a while, little. M looked at the books. He picked up Canon Farrar's Life of Jesus. Hmm. It's a good life, Farrar. And read a few pages. So they overall did not believe much in Hinduism. That is another point. And so their religion was Christianity because of the Western education. Dr. Sarkar told him how the first homeopathic hospital was started in the teeth of great opposition. So he has that sterling qualities to fight for truth as he understands it. He asked them to read the letters relating to it, which had been published in the Calcutta Journal of Medicine in 1876. This is 1885, 9 years before. Dr. Sarkar was much devoted to homeopathy. M picked up another book, Munger's New Theology. Dr. Sarkar noticed it. Dr. Munger has based his conclusions on nice argument and reasoning. So, argument and reasoning he likes, not experience. It is not like you are believing a thing simply because a Chaitanya or a Buddha or a Jesus Christ has said so. These people telling is very different. These people have spiritual experience, and so they are telling. Arguments are man's mind. The difference doctor does not understand. I am smiling. Yes, we should not believe Chaitanya or Buddha, but we must believe Munger. So Master Mashe picks up the wrong thing in that. Munger has said something where his intellectual reason we should believe that and not believe what the sages have said. Bhakti. So Master Masha has picked up a lot of courage now staying with Thakur. Doctor, Munger has based his conclusions on nice argument and reasoning. Doctor, whatever you say. So, yes, seen some point there. M. We must quote someone as our authority. So it is Munger. The doctor smiles. So sometimes what happens? I am saying this may not be right. So I have to quote an authority. And I will quote that authority which I follow, not the authority which people follow. So that also is wrong. Dr. Smiles. Dr. Sarkar got into his carriage accompanied by him. The carriage proceeded towards Shampupur. It was midday. They gossiped together. The conversation turned to Dr. Bhaduri, who had also been visiting the master now and then. He is also an homeopath, but he is turning to Vedanta. M smiling. Bhaduri said about you that you must begin all over again from the stone and brick back because you do not believe in incarnation. Dr. Sarkar, how is that? M. Because you don't believe in the Mahatmas, astral bodies, and so forth. So Bhaduri believes in many subtler things that you don't believe. Perhaps Bhaduri is a theosophist. Further, you don't believe in the incarnation of God. That is why it is you saying that when you die, this time, you would certainly not be reborn as a human being. That would be far off. You wouldn't be born even as an animal or bird, or even as a tree or a plant. You would have to begin all over again from stone and brickbat. Then, after many births, you might assume a human body. Dr. Sarkar, goodness gracious, is little taken aback and surprised at this. Dr. Bhaduri further said that the knowledge of your physical science was a false knowledge. Such knowledge is momentary. He gave an analogy. Suppose there are two wells. The one gets his water from an underground spring. The other has no such spring and is filled with rainwater. But the water of the second well does not last a long time. The knowledge of your science is like the rainwater, it dries up. Superficial. Dr. Sarkar with a smile, I see the carriage. So, different arguments you understand. The carriage arrived at, according to one's faith, one argues. The carriage arrived at, he finds analogy for everything. The carriage arrived at Cornwallis Street. Dr. Sarkar picked up Dr. Pratap Mazumdar, another good homeopath. Pratap had visited Sri Ramakrishna the previous day. They soon arrived at Shampupur. So, mutual consultation between homeopaths. Sri Ramakrishna was sitting in his room on the second floor with several devotees. Dr. Sarkar to the master, I see you are cupping, smiling. But it is good to go to Kashi. Pun and pun. Bengali cup is pronounced as Kashi, and Kashi is Banaras. So good to go to Kashi, and you are cupping. Master smiling. But that will give me liberation. If I go to Kashi, Thakur can use any analogy for spiritual talk. But that will give me liberation. I don't want liberation. I want love of God. Because he is an incarnation, because you want to teach people, and because you want people also live on that level. Pratap was Dr. Bhaduri's son-in-law. Sri Ramakrishna was speaking to Pratap in praise of his father-in-law. Master to Pratap, what a grand person he has become. He contemplates God and observes purity in his conduct. Further, he accepts both aspects of God, personal and impersonal. That is a great achievement in those days. M was very eager to mention Dr. Baduri's remarks about Dr. Sarkar being born again in a stone or a brickbat. He asked the younger Naren very softly whether he remembered these remarks of Dr. Baduri. Shri Ramakrishna overheard this. Master to Dr. Sarkar, he himself takes it up. Huh? Do you know what Dr. Baduri said about you? He said that because you didn't believe these things, in the next cycle, you would have to begin your earthly life from a stone or brickbat. Next cycle, he says. Does he say next cycle or next birth? Manvantare. What? Yes, Thakur has put it to next kalpa. Dr. Sarkar smiling. Suppose I begin from a stock or a brickbat, and after many births obtain a human body. But as soon as I come back to this place, I shall have to begin over again from a stone or a brickbat, because my convictions will not change that way what he thinks. The doctor and all laugh. The conversation turned to the master's ecstasy in spite of his illness. Pratap, yesterday I saw you in an ecstatic mood. Master, it happened of itself, but it was not intense. Dr. Sarkar, ecstasy and talking are not good for you now. Master Dr. Sarkar, I saw you yesterday in my samadhi. That he is telling now. I found that you are a mine of knowledge, but it is all dry knowledge. You have not tasted divine bliss. To Pratap, referring to Dr. Sarkar, if he ever tastes divine bliss, he will see everything above and below filled with it, divine bliss. Then he will not say that whatever he says is right. That is the point Thakur is not make. And what others say is wrong. Then he will not utter sharp, strong, pointed words. The devotees remain silent. So, because he has seen from above. Suddenly, Sri Ramakrishna went into a spiritual mood and said to Dr. Sarkar, Mahendra Babu, he is not saying now Dr. Sarkar, Mahendra Babu, what is this madness of you about money? Why such attachment to wife? He has gone into fundamentals again, like yesterday. Why such longing for name and fame? Give up all this now and direct your mind to God with wholehearted devotion. So, Dr. Sarkar says he has no such thing. But Thakur says all the subtle mind and he has not given to God. Enjoy the bliss of God. Dr. Sarkar sat still without uttering a word. The devotees also remained silent because of this direct hit everybody became introspective. Master, Nanta used to tell me how a Nani meditates. Everywhere is water. All the regions above and below are filled with water. Man, like a fish, is swimming joyously in the water. In real meditation, you will actually see all this. So meditation will lead to experience. And this Nanta has told Thakur. So Thakur has taught these things to Ashrama also. Nirakar. Take the case of the infinite ocean. There is no limit to its water. This infinite ocean is not what we see. Thakur has told above and below all water. There is no limit to its water. Suppose a pot is immersed in it, there is water both inside and outside the pot. Just a minute. 1 minute. I'm putting the, where is it gone? The Jnani sees that both inside and outside there is nothing but Paramatman. Then what is this pot? It is I consciousness. Because of the pot, the water appears to be divided into two parts. Because of the pot, you seem to perceive an inside and an outside. Actually, there is no inside outside. It is a continuity. Akhanda Brahma. One feels that way as long as the pot of I exists. When the I disappears, what is remains. That cannot be described in words because the describer I has gone. Thakur's experience is of all-sided and all states and the highest. Do you know another way a jnani meditates? Think of infinite akasha and a bird flying there. That is the second point. Infinity. Joyfully spreading its wings. There is the chidakasha and Atman is the bird. Atman, self, Jeev. Chidakasha, Chit itself is Akash. The bird is not imprisoned in a cage. It flies in the Chidakasha. Its joy is limitless. Cage means his body. The devotees listened with great attention to these words about meditation. After a time, Pratap resumed the conversation. Pratap to Dr. Sarkar. When one thinks seriously, one undoubtedly sees everything as a mere shadow. So, when one thinks seriously, one can see everything as a shadow. Not real, not unreal, shadow. Appearance. Dr. Sarkar, if you speak of a shadow, then you need three things: the sun, the object, and the shadow. How can there be any shadow without an object? And you say that God is real and the creation unreal. I say that the creation is real too. Now here, in the appearance, mind is like the mirror. So mirror shadow is like a reflection. Pratap, very well. As you see, very well means I have taken your argument. As you see a reflection in a mirror, so you see this universe in the mirror of your mind. Dr. Sarkar, but how can there be a reflection without an object? Narendra, why? God is the object. Dr. Sarkar remained silent. So reality is there, then only this shadow. Shadow does not have any independent existence. It is like a reflection. It is like the shadow. All this imply that there is a reality. Master to Dr. Sarkar, you said a very fine thing. No one else has said before that samadhi is the result of the union of the mind with God. You alone have said that. So, Thakur picks up every good point. Shivnath said that one lost one's head by too much thinking of God. In other words, one becomes unconscious by meditating on the universal consciousness. Think of it, becoming unconscious by contemplating Him who is of the very nature of consciousness and whose consciousness endows the world with consciousness. Kathopanishad. Light, sense light cannot illuminate. It is self-luminous, and because of self-luminosity, others borrow some light. So the light in the sun is the light of God. Consciousness, physical light is compared with consciousness. And what does your science say? This combined with this produces that. That combined with this, that produces this. One is more likely to lose consciousness by contemplating those things because jada, matter, and we are contemplating matter. By handling material things too much, forgetting God. Dr. Sarkar, one can see God in those things, idea. M. If so, one sees God more clearly in man and still better in a great man, great soul. In a great soul, there is a greater manifestation of God. So, Master Masha picks up the thread that in material things God can be seen, then better in man, better in a man of realization. Dr. Sarkar, yes, in man, no doubt. Up to that, he agrees. Master, losing consciousness by contemplating God, through whose consciousness even inert matter appears to be conscious, and hands, feet, and body move. People say that the body moves of itself, but they do not know that it is God who moves it. They say that water scalds the hand, but water can be no means scald the hand. It is the heat in the water that first heat in the water, the fire in the water that scalds. So everywhere, God and His reflection. Secondly, rice is boiling in a pot. Potato and eggplant are also jumping about in the pot. The children say that the potatoes and eggplant jump of themselves. They do not know that there is fire underneath. Man says that the sense organs do their work of themselves, but he does not know that inside dwells He whose very nature is consciousness. So all these are external, unconscious things by themselves. Dr. Sarkar stood up. He was about to take his leave. Sri Ramakrishna also stood up to honor him. Dr. Sarkar, people call on God when they are faced with a crisis. There is another misnomer of modern people. Is it for the mere fun of it? They say, Oh Lord, thou. You speak of God because of that trouble in your throat. Another gross misunderstanding. You have now fallen into the clutches of the cotton cardor. Thakur's own example. You had better speak to the cardor. I am just quoting your own words. Have it in our context, Master. There is nothing for me to say. On this poor argument, what I can say. Dr. Sarkar, why not? We lie in the lap of God. We feel free with Him. To whom should we speak about our illness if not to Him? So this is a dualist attitude. Master, right you are. Once in a while I try to speak to him about it, but I do not succeed. Right you are, but I do not succeed. So Thakur shows the dualist position and the highest position. Every item of spirituality Thakur can distinguish and tell. Dr. Sarkar, Why should you even speak to him? Does he not know of it? Master smiling. A Musalman, while saying his prayers, shouted, "Oh Allah, oh Allah." Another person said to him, "You are calling on Allah, that's all right. But why are you shouting like that? Don't you know that he hears the sound of the anklets in the feet of an ant?" Anklets on the feet of the ant. So he gives a similar example that some people think they have to shout. When the mind is united with God, one sees him very near in one's own heart. But you must remember one thing, the more you realize this unity, the further your mind is withdrawn from the worldly thing. Then only this happens. There is a story of Bilva Mangal in the Bhaktamal. He used to visit a prostitute. One night he was very late in going to her house. He had been detained at home by the Shraddha ceremony of his father and mother. In his hands, he was carrying the food offered in the ceremony to feed his mistress. His whole soul was so set upon the woman that he was not at all conscious of his movements. He didn't even know he was walking. There was a yogi seated on the path, meditating on God with eyes closed. Bilu Mangal stepped on him. The yogi became angry and cried out, "What? Are you blind? I've been thinking of God and you step on my body." "I beg your pardon," said Vilomangal, "but may I ask you something? I have been unconscious thinking of a prostitute, and you are conscious of the outer world, though thinking of God. What kind of meditation is that?" In the end, Vilomangal renounced the word and went away in order to worship God. He said to the prostitute, "You are my guru," because while going, he caught a snake like a rope and like so many things happened. And the prostitute said, "You are loving me so much. If you had loved God, you would have got mukti." That awakened in him. "You are my guru. You have taught me how one should yearn for God." He addressed the prostitute as his mother and gave and gave her up. So transformation of consciousness. Dr. Sarkar, to address a woman as mother is the tantric form of worship. We should pick it up tomorrow. And Dr. Sarkar, to address a woman as mother is tantric master. I think we'll take it up tomorrow. Om तव कथामृतं तप्तजीवनं कविभिरीडितं कल्मषापहं श्रवणमङ्गलं श्रीमदाततं भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जना। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरि ओम तत्सत्। श्री रामकृष्णार्पणमस्तु।